It's definitely expected that this offseason is going to be quite a busy one for the New York Rangers. And with that being said, I think it's pretty clear that one area that this team definitely needs to address is the defensive unit. They need to make at least one, I would say, really serious upgrade on the back end there. They need to add in a really good defenseman into that top four if this team truly wants to be a Stanley Cup contender. And I think with where this team is at right now, they have some solid pieces on the back end and on this team in general, for sure. A guy like Foxy is still, I think, a true number one caliber defenseman. But after that, there is some serious lack of talent. Now, I think a guy like Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider, Will Borgen, they can all have moments of being a true top four caliber guy, but I think especially with a guy like Keandre, for example, the consistency is just not there. Now, I think even with a guy like Braden Schneider there, I think there's still more to his game for sure, and he definitely can, grow and develop and get better. So there still is a chance that he can finally turn into that, true top four caliber defenseman, that second pairing guy that I always thought he could potentially be. But as of right now, I don't think we've quite seen that, at least at a full-on consistent level. Game in and game out, here and there. Sure, these guys, all three of them, show the talent of being a top four caliber guy, but they need to be more consistent. And I think Will Borgen, we kind of know what he's going to be, right? He's going to be that, number 4/5 defenseman there. I would say he's a low-end 4, a bit of a higher-end 5. But if you have him on your bottom pairing, I think that's more than sufficient kind of defenseman to have there. But for guys like Keandre Miller and Braden Schneider, I'm still waiting, right? I'm still waiting in their development to see what they can finally do. Can Keandre actually, put everything together there and be a good, consistent player? Because he has these flashes and moments of being an absolutely elite defenseman with that size, with that skating ability, with that reach. He definitely has the kind of some of the intangibles to be that great top four, even top pairing caliber guy. But obviously the consistency factor is just not there with him. He is way too inconsistent. And at moments, and a lot of the moments as well, at points there, is definitely a true-on liability for this team like Jacob Trouba was. So I think, yes, Keandre is, I would say, still a good defenseman at moments for sure. I don't think he's a great one, and I don't think he's one who, as of this second, unless he changes game and, really becomes more consistent, can be a true top four caliber defenseman on a Stanley Cup winning team. I'm just not quite sure of that as of right now. So I think he's one player who you hope can take some steps. I think Braden Schneider, you hope, can take some steps. You kind of know what you're getting with Will Borgen there, but those are, I would say, the clear kind of next three best defensemen after Adam Fox. And that's kind of my big problem with this defensive core right now for the Rangers is you kind of compare it to some other teams around the league there, especially ones that are still, alive in the playoffs there. Not many of those guys there, Borgen, Schneider, or Keandre. I don't even know, is there any team alive right now in the playoffs that would add one of those guys into their top four right now? I don't really think so. So there is definitely some need to kind of make some big upgrades on this team. I think, guys like Keandre, Schneider, Borgen, they can definitely be solid and key pieces and, could potentially be a part of a Stanley Cup winning defense core. But especially with guys like Schneider and, Miller there, we need to see a little more and a little more consistency in their game as well. And I think Braden Schneider, for the most part there, is right now a solid and good defenseman, but I don't think he, game in and game out, every single game consistently enough, is showing to be a true top four caliber defenseman. I'm not saying, a top four caliber defenseman to me isn't just a guy who ends up playing there. Like a Will Borgen to me isn't necessarily a true one, good top four caliber guy. He can play in the top four, but I don't think he's a true top four caliber guy. Just like the Rangers had, Ryan Lindgren on that top pair for quite some time, of course, alongside Adam Fox. He was never a true top pairing caliber defenseman, but he ended up playing there. So that's kind of why I say, this team is really lacking another kind of true high-end defenseman, because right now, there's not necessarily another true, really good top four caliber guy on this team other than Adam Fox. It's kind of one guy right now who is a true, good top four caliber defenseman, which is just not good enough to be a cup-winning team, right? This team has a good squad. I mean, it's not a great squad. I think right now on paper, it's not a great team, but it's a pretty solid one, especially when you consider you've got the top goalie, I would say, in the league come playoff time, in Igor Shesterkin. And if you think I'm wrong, Go look at the numbers there. I made multiple videos talking about it. In the playoffs, over the previous 3 playoffs there's been no goalie as good or consistent as Igor Shesterkin. And if you don't believe me, you can go check out the numbers for yourself or take a look at some of my videos in the past there. I made one kind of recently, somewhat recently at least, kind of comparing, Igor and some kind of other goalies' playoff numbers, especially to a guy like Connor Hellebuck, who was a full-on known choker. He's someone who, when the lights shine brightest, he does not show up and he actually plays some of his worst hockey, especially over the last, 3 or 4 playoff runs, whatever it's been. So I think having a goalie like Igor who does show up and is consistently elite in the playoffs. Or that's the thing. He's not just elite in the playoffs. He is consistently elite and plays at that level consistently, which is a big thing for not just goalies, but players in general there, right? There are a lot of players who maybe don't play their best hockey when the lights shine brightest, but a guy like Igor absolutely does. So having a guy like Igor, yes, although, fans are going to criticize him about his, regular season play, and I get that. He's not playing like a, top 4 or top 3 or even the best goalie in the league in the regular season as of right now over the past couple seasons, but come playoff time, he has consistently proven to be an elite playoff performer. And with this team having, hired a new head coach there, of course, in Mike Sullivan, you went out there, you fired the previous head coach, of course, being Peter Laviolette. You fire most of the assistants and the rest of the coaching staff there as well. I mean, there definitely are some guys coming back, like the skills coach coming back, the goalie coach, I believe. And I still think there is a chance we could see Dan Muse and Michael Peck come back. Maybe I missed some information on that, but I believe they are going to be interviewed possibly. Not exactly sure where we're at on that with those 2 guys. But, there are some guys potentially coming back there, but for the most part there, of course, the defense coach is definitely not coming back there. In Phil Housley, he was for sure fired, which is good news, I would say. So you've got some new coaches coming in there. Mike Sullivan is the head guy, of course, but then you've got some other, solid assistants that will come in there. You're going to have a new defensive coach there, which is definitely going to be a big plus for this, Rangers team, of course. You have a new defensive system there that will hopefully kind of, fit better with these new guys. And you also got to remember there, a guy, Carson Soucy, for example, right? He came in there mid-season there to an already dysfunctional team. So I think with him having maybe a full offseason there with the new coaching staff, that could definitely be beneficial for him there for sure. So I really do think, adding in at least one true top 4 caliber defenseman, a true top 4 caliber guy who could potentially be, a top 4 kind of guy on a cup winning or at least a really good playoff team, I think it's an absolute must for this team. You got to go out there and find one of those guys. Gavrikov, I think, is kind of one of my favorite fits for this team. I think he'd just be such a perfect add for this team and is exactly kind of what this team needs. Somewhat of a big, fairly physical, guy who can block some shots there, play some good defensive kind of shutdown hockey, be a decent puck mover, but has some experience in the playoffs as well. A veteran guy. I just think he's an exact kind of type and mold of the player that this team needs. So going out there, adding in a guy like that, I really do think would be such a huge benefit for this Rangers team. And, this offseason, it's going to be an active one. Hopefully we're going to see a lot of moves, but we definitely need to see some additions on the back end. And just kind of recap here, basically what I'm saying in this video is I don't think this team is going to be fixed by adding in one top 4 caliber guy, but I absolutely think this team can be a much, much improved team with the new coaching staff coming in there, with adding in one more, I would say, true top 4 caliber defenseman and, a couple moves here and there on the forward side of things or adding in some more depth as well, definitely is not a bad idea. And I definitely think this team needs to go out there and make some additions, not just on the back end, but also on the forward side of things. So making some moves this offseason there, improve this team, and, with one more top 4 caliber guy who's a really good top 4 caliber defenseman, like a Gavrikov maybe, I really do think this team could get right back into the mix of things to being a really good, maybe playoff team who can win a round or 2 at least, and maybe go on a bit of a run there, especially while having a goalie like Igor Shesterkin who can absolutely carry this team along like he has proven to do already. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. And also, don't be afraid to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Even if you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts and opinions. As always, I love hearing what you all have to say, because at the end of the day, we're all just Rangers fans. So I love talking with you guys, about this team, even though, sometimes it can be frustrating to watch or a little sad to watch. It definitely is still fun for the most part at the end of the day. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.